Hey, welcome to Rust Revival Garage. My name is Tim. I've got a lot of new followers since the power tour. I kind of wanted to say welcome to all of you. I hope you enjoyed the videos that I did during the power tour. But I took my 1968 Pontiac on the power tour and I did 1,000 miles. And it's the first time I took this car anywhere in 24 years. So how did we do? What problems did I have? Well, if you saw the day 5 video, I kind of talked about how I had a serious issue where the car was dragging. There was noise. Every time the wheel would go around, there was a noise. My gas mileage dropped from 16 down to 12 from day 4 to day 5. And I need to figure out what's wrong. But let's go ahead and take a look at the other issues that I also had while I was on the tour. And it's not much. I mean, it's really cool. Okay, so for me, the only real problems that I had, the only tool I used was a flathead screwdriver where I had to sort of tighten up my hose clamps on my fuel system. And I think maybe having an 18-pound radiator cap put a little too much pressure on it. But yeah, that's the only tool I really used the entire time on the trip. One of the guys that was traveling with me had to borrow my tools to fix one of his power window, and he also had to pull out his overflow tank and pour some of that coolant back into the radiator because it wasn't going back in. But that was only because he couldn't get to his tools easily. So I didn't really need tools on the trip. I mean, that's just amazing. But I did have a little bit of a fuel spill too. I had no gas gauge in this car, no working gas gauge, and so I carried a can of gas with me, and just in case. But this thing got really decent mileage on the road, and I didn't really have to worry about running out of gas. But things sloshed around in there, knocked over the fuel tank, and I had a fuel spill in the trunk. So I had a really nice mat in here, and the mat got ruined, and I had to throw it away. And I don't know if you can see it, but I also had sort of a speckled paint, and a lot of the speckles came up. Speckles, whatever you call them. So the gas did a little bit of damage to that, so I'm going to have to repaint that and buy a new mat. But that was seriously on me. I don't know why I thought I needed to carry a big giant thing of gas in there. I've been airing it out for days, and no big deal on that. That was just stupid, really. But again, I just had this fear because I had no gas gauge that I might run out of gas. I did not know how this thing was going to perform on the road because I really only drove it for about 10 miles to sort of test it out before going on the power tour. And so I didn't know. But, it's no big deal. I just have to buy a new mat. I still have a little bit of that spray paint to put on there, so it should be fine. So yeah, the only thing I need to do now really is dive in and find out what is going on with that noise, with that drag that I was having from the rear end. I need to figure that out so I can get this car back on the road again. It's summertime, and I want to take it to the upcoming Good Guys show, and I certainly want to take it to the Pontiac Nationals the weekend after that. So yeah, let's dig in and see what we can find. All right, gonna put her in neutral. Got it jacked up. See what kind of noise it makes, if any. It's a little squeaky when I go backwards, but no real noises. Not hearing anything grinding. There's no movement, in and out a little bit. Huh. Well, this wheel spins a lot easier, that's for sure. Wonder if that brake is catching. Let me see if I spin that, it goes for a little bit on its own. I'm wondering if it's because it's not a posi and it's actually spinning from this side. Huh. All right, that's the emergency brake all the way in. It's in neutral. So the emergency brake is working, and that ain't it. And it rolls again. The only other thing I can think to check is to see if the brake is stuck, and this rotor is not stuck. If I had to say something was a little off, the pad wears a little more down here than it is up here. Back of the pad looks pretty good. So I'm not seeing anything crazy, outrageous. No leaks in there. There's a lot of metal. See that? There's a lot of metal there. It doesn't look like just all brake dust. Okay, I think I might know what it is. I think it might be the bearings. When I had the wheel on, you could see there's in and out play. That's okay. That's it. I think that might be the problem. Now, I did I checked this before I left, and it was not a problem. But again, you know, you go on a big long trip, and maybe that's what is, you know, it got worn down, and that became the problem. That became the issue. And it could have been the squeaking noise that I hear when it's underweight, you know, because again, it's pushing up on it. And it might be a ground, like it might not do it while I've just got it here off the weight. But I think maybe that's too much. Okay. Okay, so I'm adding changing wheel bearings to the list of things I've never done before. But let's get to it. Looks like it's a 9/16, and then I just got to rotate it around and get to the 4 bolts back there. There's one. Get these off and check back in. Crap, they're connected. I was hoping I wouldn't have to disconnect it from the differential, but I think I do. So according to the interwebs, Pontiac BOP 8.2 are bolt-in, so I should be able to get this off. So I'm going to try the slide hammer. There we go. That's what it was. Oh yeah. So there's the retaining plate. How is the seal not leaking? Huh. Yeah. I don't even think that was supposed to come out, was it? I thought I was going to have to pull the bearing out of there. Interesting. I may have to take this somewhere to get it pressed off, maybe. But this thing got hot. I don't know if you saw the day 5 video where I said I'm going to name this car Grace because she really wanted to get me home and handled the pressure. She handled some serious heat too. This could have failed at any point, and there's not a whole lot of even gear oil on this. It'd probably burn it up. Wow. As is usually the case, I was wrong about the bearing part of it. It actually does get pressed onto the axle itself. So yeah, this bearing has a ring right here that basically holds it in place, and you have to press that on. So this isn't something I can do. I can buy the bearing itself and all of that in the ring, but I can't take this one off or put it on without cutting into this, chiseling this off maybe. It would be a lot. So I think what I'm going to do is take both axles to a shop I trust and have them install these bearings for me. One of the things I will need to do is get the new seal and put that seal in. And the other thing too is I think I'm going to probably want to change my differential fluid. One thing, I don't know if you noticed, but when I took this axle out, it's level and no fluid came out, which means I burned up a lot of fluid getting home. And, was it smart for me to try to drive home at the end of the power tour, with this issue? No, it was not. But again, I don't think I ruined my axle. Again, I'm going to open up the diff cover, inspect things, see if there's any damage. And, in which case I can take it from there, but I can definitely put in a new seal, definitely check things out to make sure it's okay, put in some, certainly change out and put in some new diff fluid. So yeah, let me get the other axle out. All right, this is what it's supposed to look like. I think the seal is still in there. This is the bearing. Yeah, this side, I think that's kind of what saved me, is that this side was still good. No sounds, still tight. Seal's in there. There's still fluid on the axle. But again, nothing's pouring out, and we're fairly level. Yeah, there's still some fluid on this side. So that's what it was. It was that bearing on that side. So I'm going to have them both taken care of. Okay, I've got the axles off to Lucor Automotive. You may have heard of them. Hopefully they can get it done on time. But what I need to do now is open up the differential, take a look and see if anything is damaged. I can clean it out, but I can't put in new fluid until I get the axles back. So let's take a look. Alright, so we do have some fluid in there. That is good. And it doesn't look super wasted. That's good. But I'm guaranteeing there's not as much in there as there should have been. I don't know what this orange discoloration is here, but at least the teeth that are visible still look pretty good. So again, I don't think I ruined anything. I didn't hear any noises from here. I don't think I ruined anything here, but I'm also going to make sure I clean it out, look and see if there's any metal down in here as well. Definitely got some black sludge in there. Don't feel any pieces or parts from the broken bearing. Don't feel any metal pieces at all, really, or anything, just fluid. Gonna clean up my old gasket surface so I can put the diff cover back on. And I got the cover all cleaned up. I'm ready to mate it back up. Alright, looking down there, I don't really see any debris, so I think we're good. I just need to clean up this surface so I can put my new seal on. While I was cleaning, I said, wait, what's all that gunk? Turns out it was part of the seal itself. Actually, I think the seal is still in there now that I've cleaned it. It looks a lot like this one, and that's the edge. So I still need to get that out. Alright, so I used my slide hammer and I got it out. Got that nice and cleaned out. There's actually a lot of sort of burnt rubber all along the edge. Had to scrape it off and wipe it down and keep scraping and scraping until I got it all up because I did not want there to be any leaks. Okay, I borrowed this from my friend. I'm gonna use this. Oh, of course I put it on wrong. But gonna use this to see if I can tap this in. I did not have a socket big enough to really get on that, and figured I might damage it if I used a smaller socket. So, yeah. So it looks like we are nice and level all the way around. I think we're good there. Okay, so here is my old axle. The one from this side. They could not use it. It was scored so bad that the ring wasn't even on here tight. It was holding on the bearings. So this one is toast. I've got a new one on the way, but I kind of wanted you to see there was some heat involved in here, and you can see it just sort of gets, I don't know if you can, but it gets a little wider, then a little narrower, then a little wider again. So yeah, that was the damage done. And sorry, not sorry about the fan noise, but it's the weekend here and it's 90 plus degrees and it's not even noon yet, so I've got the fan on. But anyway, new axle is on the way. It comes with a bearing. Had to order it, so it's not going to be here in time for this video. But what I can do is get the other one on and ready to go. Okay, I don't know if you're supposed to lube these or not, but I did. Just to make sure it's got something a little wet on there for the initial contact. I'm hoping that'll be fine. Alright, so I don't know if I showed you or not. Just realized that. But here's the bearing. So Liquor got a new one on there for me. And it's sealed up, so I really can't pack it or do anything like that with it. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to clean that out before I put this in. Much better. I am not changing out this seal. It is still in really good shape. The seal is, I can feel the rubber that's in there. It still feels nice and fresh. So I think I'm going to be fine not changing that one out. Alright, so let's get this back in. There we go. then these are the bolts that are on the back that come through, that go in through the backing plate. All right, because the bolts back here can easily come back out, I'm having to hold it in at the same time as I turn this to get it started. But once I got it started, it's pretty good to go. The other thing that I have to watch out for too is this whole rotor assembly wants to move, so I've got to make sure it's far enough back that it doesn't, I don't start tightening it down until I've got it nice and firm on there. Alright, crisscrossed it. Now I need to torque it down. And here's the fun thing. Kind of hard to find some torque specs for some cars. But of course online, did jump around to a couple of different places. I've heard anywhere from 25 to 35. The one I did find was 67, was 35 for sure from a shop manual. So if you know, let me know in the comments down below, but I'm going to go for 35. Again, just kind of worried I don't want this thing to come out. Oddly enough, it's just 4 9/16 bolts holding this entire axle onto this car. There are no C-clips in the differential. It's just 4 bolts. So I want to make sure I get this right. I don't want my axle coming out and my wheel to be rolling down the road and I'm crashing into a guardrail. So hopefully 35 is correct. So that's all 4 at 35. Alright, time to get the differential cover back on. I tend to use a lot of bolts, original bolts over and over again because sometimes they're just better quality. One thing that I've always found to be super helpful is a thread chaser. It just really helps clean them up. I mean, you can get it so that it looks so much better once you get all that gunk out of the threads. I think you have a better shot at a good seal, so I'm going to clean these up as well. Okay, I'm putting it back on using the gear oil gasket maker. I do not use gaskets, at least not on my differential covers. Okay, so I've done the gaskets on my Jeep and my C10, and I did it on this one as well, and I've never had a leak. I don't know why, it's just kind of hard to sometimes match up the gasket. Got to get a good contact and all of that, but this is specifically for gear oil, and again, no leaks, and so I think it works out pretty well as long as I think you have a really good flat surface. And the surfaces I've always dealt with have been really nice and flat. I make sure I get them super nice and clean, and I think it works out well. So let's get this thing back on. Oh, this is where you wish you had 2 hands. All right, 1 in. Alright, I will get the rest of these bolts in and finger tight. Okay, I've got all my bolts on. Like I said, I'm going to leave them finger tight for about maybe an hour. Okay, so why do I do that and not torque them down? One of the things I learned somewhere, I don't know what it was, and it was when I was doing this, I think I did it on the Jeep for the first time. I like to get everything up there finger tight and then let that gasket maker set in there for an hour to really sort of tighten up, and then I torque it down. And again, I've had luck so far. I haven't had any leaks when I do it this way. But I'm not sure where I picked that up, but this is my 4th time doing differentials, and I do it this way every time. I let it set, then I torque it down, and I think the torque on this is 20, but I'll have to check to make sure. Okay, so I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I'd love to be able to get the axle in and drive it around in this video and do all that, but I don't think it's going to be here for another week. And I kind of wanted to get you guys an update on what happened, what's going on with this car. Good news is the other side, brand new wheel bearing, it's all back in, ready to go. The differential cover is back on, it's ready for new fluid. The gears in there are good to go. I've got my seal in on this side, and really it's just now a matter of just throwing that axle in and buttoning it up again. The only other thing that I'm going to need to do is put in new wheel studs from the new axle. So that's the only thing that I'll still have to figure out as well. But that's good news. I mean, that's the only thing that happened, and I'm really excited. Thank you so much for watching. If you can, give me a like. Let me know that you appreciated the video. If you have any comments, leave them down below. Let me know if I got something wrong. And if you can, subscribe if you're not already. I'd really appreciate it. It's a great way to help build the channel and help me keep doing projects like this and keep going on these things. I also have more to do with this car. I've got a lot to do with my 85 C10. I've got a 2000 Jeep. I got to get this motorcycle back on the road again. There's a lot going on, and so I'd love it if you could subscribe. That would be very, very cool. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we will catch you next time.